I went into Wolfenstein blind, and by blind I mean nothing but a trailer. I never played the 1992 Wolfenstein 3D that paved the way for shooters, never played the reboot in 2009 or the reboot sequel in 2014. I went in only knowing that Nazis were bad. I soon discovered what this franchise was all about in the first 10 minutes, as you bounce between flashbacks of hiding in the closet from your abusive father to shooting Nazis in a wheelchair on conveyor belts because you can't climb stairs. That was just the first 10 minutes. The more you play Wolfenstein, the more you begin to realize you have no idea what you're doing or what's happening, and that becomes the beauty of it all. Put simply, this game is a wonderful chaos. From the absurd story to the tension of cover shooting gameplay, New Colossus provides something for new players and veterans alike. It's not perfect by any means, but the initial playthrough boasts its fair share of moments that get you hyped, make you laugh, leave you mildly frustrated, or leave you completely confused.
Not that I don't trust you, Blazkowicz. There's nothing saying you couldn't be wearing a mask made to look like William J. Blazkowicz to hide your alien space lizard facial traits. So, I need the password that Grace gave you.
She didn't give me one.
Right. Off with the mask.
Dropping into the third chapter of the franchise felt like watching a show with 2 seasons behind it where characters are established, relationships are formed, and I'm only mildly sure who each person is. A brief highlight reel at the start gives you the rundown, but almost immediately you have to make a choice between 2 main characters on who lives and dies, and I just met them. To that end, some character deaths and relationships lose that intended impact, but the game does a great job of providing a healthy balance of emotional strife with the insanity of the world around you. The sad reality of war, Blazkowicz's initial illness and coming to terms with buried demons, the daughter of the Nazi leader, now turncoat. There's a lot to process here. Luckily, the voice work and visual aesthetics do a service in providing new players something they are bound to connect with, or at the very least, find entertaining to watch. Bolstering all of that is a superb visual aesthetic, be it trouncing along Nazi-ruled society undercover or cresting a hill to find post-nuclear rubble of New York. Developer Machine Games has painted a vivid picture of desolation, desperation, and true tyranny. But right after tugging your heartstrings, the game takes a sharp left into crazy by pumping you up with its heavy metal soundtrack during combat. If those riffs sound familiar to you, that's because it's the exact same composer from Doom, and it does a very good job in amping you up for a fight. The game functions as a standard shooter but with adaptive play and open maps. If you prefer to go in guns blazing, you can do so, and the game will encourage you with plentiful ammo littered throughout the field and vantage points to gain the upper hand. If you prefer the stealthy route, you can sneak to eliminate the enemy commander and be offered branching paths to do so. Kills with your playstyle automatically increase your combative or stealthy perks. No skill tree, no skill points, just play the game and you begin to notice the subtle stat changes. Kills during stealth, you've increased your crouch movement. Kills while dual wielding, you've increased ammo for your weapons. Nailing headshots, you've increased damage aiming down the sights. This natural increase of power keeps your head in the game and out of the menus. The stealth, while a great way to play, is really difficult. There's no real radar, idea of line of sight, nothing beyond really peeking around corners and a general map of the area. It takes getting used to, but once you've upgraded some weaponry to be silenced, you can usually predict guard pathways, distract them with a stray bullet, and move slow and steady to the finish. You're gonna get caught. A lot. Sometimes for no reason at all, but on the higher difficulties I could usually find a way to get around, and the save system is lenient enough to allow you to get right back into it if you are discovered. Combat is purely cover shooter based. Dual wielding offers a destructive means of mowing down your enemies, but the AI is pretty predictable, mostly charging in headfirst to your location. Much of the strategy involves putting my back to a wall and just picking them off as they came. I even found that the commander would stop calling reinforcements after a few waves, which means I could just play the waiting game, pick off everybody one by one, and eventually finish the commander. Heavily armored troops, intimidating robotic dogs, and flying drones throw a few wrenches in the mix, but ultimately you can solve your problem by shoving a dual-wielded shotgun in its face. When you're not on a mission, you're back on your main ship, which acts as a hub world where you can review the plethora of collectibles scattered in each stage, talk to crewmates for small side missions, even play the original Wolfenstein 3D in its entirety in the cafe. While most items are just a collector's stash to show off, items like weapon upgrades allow you to prioritize your favorite guns in reducing recoil, increasing your efficiency. As you kill commanders, you also gain these encrypted codes that you can decrypt on your ship, unveiling small hit contract missions where you're tasked to locate and eliminate a target. These are usually very straightforward, and once you land that final blow, you can just hit return to ship, and no matter what's going around, it's just boop, back to the load screen. Side note, these only became available about halfway through the main campaign. Also at this halfway mark, you're thrown another curveball in the form of one of 3 items. Arms to bash through barriers, battle walkers to gain height advantage to unreachable areas, and a constricting harness to fit in small spaces. Each has its advantage, but added a refreshing option to the routine I established early game. You can even find the other 2 items you didn't choose in side missions later on, to just become this singular bionic fiend as you slink and overpass unreachable platforms.
You are strong, Billy. We are survivors, you and I. We keep fighting even when we do not know how. You cannot help but be my son.
Wolfenstein is a game that'll appeal to your humanity one minute and dive into the absurd the next. It's not revolutionary by any means, and the difficulty with stealth or the frustrating weapon swap wheel, those can damper things. But when you mow down a group of Nazis with a laser, or audition for Hitler, yeah, that happens. It's easy to overlook the issues. There's something for everyone here, a ton of collectibles tucked away in each stage, an insane difficulty for diehards, and the retro Wolfenstein 3D is just a nice touch to an altogether fun game. There are cracks in the facade, but the big picture here is New Colossus is an explosive ride with a surprisingly deep narrative that's just fun to experience.
As this toilet can handle all sorts of waste, feces, urine, vomitus, you name it.
Do you have asswipe?
By that you mean toilet paper, yes. Of course, we need to mind our rations a little bit, but there's S-wipe in there.
God! Oh my God!
Yes.
Oh my sweet God in heaven! Oh.